Hello everyone. I am Elvira Kreetje, one of the Legal Hackers Riga organizers, and nice to see you all today who have joined us here on Zoom, and all of you who are watching us on our live stream on Facebook as well. We are very happy for each and everyone who has joined us, as this event is not only about legal design, but it also marks the opening of Legal Hackers Riga chapter. And as we like to say, this is our kickoff event. So I believe all of you are very excited and anticipating to hear what our speakers have prepared today. But before we introduce you to our speakers and start the event, since this is our first event, in a few sentences, and I'll try to be short, I'll explain who we are, what we do, and all in all, what is Legal Hackers? So we are explorers, we are doers, we are legal hackers. And that's our organization's slogan. And it basically does encompass all that we are. We're a global movement of designers, entrepreneurs, lawyers, policymakers, students, technologists, and academics who explore and develop creative solutions to some of the most pressing issues at the intersection of law and technology. So the Legal Hackers movement began in 2012, specifically in Brooklyn, New York, where several students in the Brooklyn Law Incubator and Policy Clinic with their professor sought to answer a nagging question, which was, how can lawyers leverage the tools of technology community to solve law and policy problems? So the students then decided to organize the first ever legal hackathon and thus became the first Legal Hackers chapter. So Legal Hacker all over the world organize hackathons, meetups, discussions, workshops, design jams, you name it. We do it all. And that's what we are trying to bring here also to Latvia. Currently, there are legal chapters in more than 130 cities all over the world. In Latvia, our roots are found in 2019 when the first ideas emerged to bring a chapter here to Latvia as well. So we are adding to the long list now of existing chapters and as of this event. So the current core team consists of 6 organizers, which you can see also in this picture. Each of them with their unique experience, skills, and very driven to facilitate the development of legal tech sector in Latvia. So after this presentation, you may wonder, can I join the movement? Please do stay at the end as our colleague Anna Vladimirova Kryukova will share some interesting news about this as well. But in short, this is what Legal Hackers is about, what we do and what we stand for. So I will not hold you any further, and I will give floor now to Arina, which is also one of our Legal Hackers Riga chapter organizers, to guide us towards the discussion.
So hello everyone, I am very excited to see you all here. My name is Arina Stivrinja, and I am a lawyer and one of the organizers of Legal Hackers Riga chapter. And this is a very first event organized by Legal Hackers Riga. Thank you all for coming to this event, and special thanks to our awesome speakers and moderator. Friends and colleagues asked us, why did we choose legal design as a topic of our first event? The answer is that it is extremely important to make legal services more people-centered, usable, and satisfying. And this is very crucial for us, lawyers, technologists, and policymakers, everyone who works at crossroads of law and technology. Because sometimes, as lawyers, we do not understand technologists, and vice versa. So how do we expect users to understand us? So with this event, we hope to ignite a public discussion in Latvia about how we can make legal texts and legal services, and especially those related to technology, more user-friendly. Our awesome speakers will tell you more about legal design, but first, let me introduce you to Dirts Ruda, our moderator. Dirts Ruda is a board member of the Latvian financial regulator. He has been practicing law for a long time as a lawyer, and Dirts believes that legal community is at crossroads and will change more radically over the next 2 decades than it had over the last 2 centuries. So Dirts, the floor is yours.
Arina, many thanks, and thank you for inviting me to such an interesting afternoon. And first of all, and actually the most important thing, please prepare your tea and coffee for good, very good 1.5 hours. Sit comfortable and enjoy this afternoon. This is, I would say, first event on legal design in Latvia. And during the next 90 minutes plus, we will try to answer, what does it mean? What is the role of legal tech clients in improving access to law and justice? Does it only mean better fonts, shorter text, more pictures, or something else? And can we say that this is just a part of new ideas on how we can improve not only our work as lawyers, client service delivery, but society as a whole? And few practical things: you can see us on Zoom and on Facebook. We will record the event and it will be accessible on Facebook. And therefore, the important part for us is also that a reminder that good meeting should have not only hearing new information and learning, but also asking questions and being curious. So please send your questions in Zoom and Facebook, and we will ask them during our event. But to start with our speaker, the first one, to open the event, I would like to invite Ieva Ilvesa. Mrs. Ilvesa is a diplomat, expert in foreign and security policy, digital policy, and cybersecurity, with more than 20 years of experience in national and international institutions. As the advisor on digital policy of the President of Latvia, she will honor us with opening remarks of our event and hopefully share her views on the Latvian technology and legal technology scene. Mrs. Ilvesa, floor is yours.
Good afternoon. I hope you can hear me and see me. Great. So I shall say that actually the honor is mine. I'm not a legal expert. I have a rather big experience, as it was mentioned, in international national politics, and I spent a lot of time in the last decade working on digital politics. However, I can say that legal angle and law has a very dear in the institution of president, in the current president. So we also, of course, work a lot on that subject. Therefore, I would like to really welcome your initiative, welcome the opening of this Legal Hackers chapter in Riga and Latvia. Let me congratulate you all the organizers who are here, and everybody maybe else who is helping you, and really encourage everyone to join the chapter or join in the discussions and the work. Really, congratulations for bringing the chapter to Riga. Let me briefly address the topic and address this kickoff event, maybe setting a stage in a broader context, but focusing on the rule of law or legal system aspect. And I mean, it's not a secret, we all know, and we are actually now today, thanks to technology, obviously, too, that technology today is everywhere. And of course, law and legal system is no exception. And actually, I would go further. I would say that law or regulations are becoming more and more important, more critical part of technology world. I understand the initiatives, sort of a big focus, big part of the work is to explore digital opportunities in the legal system, how digital applies, how digital can help the laws and its application, the challenges. You can seek the new ways, the more efficient ways, to make it easier to apply law for people. And you have a very focused, interesting discussion to follow today. But of course, it is much broader topic, and I would argue it is really, as I mentioned, an extremely important field in context of technologies in coming decade, but it actually has already started a bit already for the last few years. to grow. And I shall say the law, the legal system in the world of technology, in digital world, can be an enabler or it can be a stumbling block. And that's we all face today and how to deal with. And I'm sure the chapter will have to focus a lot on that. Let me outline like 3 directions that I think are important and then sort of related to the law. First, of course, law and regulations or procedures is not just an enabler or sort of a precondition for a technology, for innovation, for application to run, or for digital company to be built and work, but it's actually a more important tool to ensure that these technologies serve people. We know that our basic rights, our freedoms, it's like a common knowledge, common wisdom by now, at least in democratic part of the world. And we have embedded these rights, these freedoms in legal documents. We have charters, we have international laws, we have local laws, we have codes of ethics and different other forms. And the same way, we have to embed these rights and freedoms in technologies. And big part of that will require lawyers and legal experts, how to ensure that the technologies that we all build, that we innovate and create, who are able to learn themselves and advance, how do this work continues and we really achieve a much better world for people, yet we preserve and we protect individual rights and also a societal interests altogether. I mean, there is a lot of discussion, of course, going on right now in this field, how this can be supported by law, by regulations. A huge tide of regulations is obviously coming from Europe, from European Union. Also nationally, I would argue there's impossible anymore to follow the amount of court cases that are launched in particular in the US, but also in Europe, about technologies and how technologies are applied towards humans or in the real world. And often those court cases go to the very fundamental issues. We know that a lot of that has been about rights, about rights to privacy, about security and safety. But it also goes down to the very core business model questions. So this is a big field that I still see as an enabler, that the technologies really serve people and help us. The second angle, of course, is technologies have no borders. Internet has no borders, of course, with different regimes. They do try that, but even there they fail. But laws and regulations very often do have borders, or most commonly have borders. And of course, in situations like that, instead of being an enabler, a law being an enabler, it can easily become a stumbling block. And I have a dear experience from our neighbors, from Estonia and Finland, where the decision, for example, was made to merge or make systems of medical prescriptions interoperable, so that people can receive their medical prescriptions in each other's countries. And so the experience they faced was that building technology to connect these systems, to understand the systems, was not the hardest part. The hardest part, the longest time it took, it was actually to synchronize the laws, the procedures, the regulations that applied to subsidized medicine, all kind of different ways how it is regulated nationally. So what I'm saying is that technology often can be an easiest part. It might be easy to design something. It's much harder to actually make these technologies to merge with the legal procedures. And that's an important part. The same can be said actually about all big innovation sort of directions. One of those is self-driving vehicles, for example. We have seen automatically driven cars built around already for a couple of years. They are there, they have knowledge, there's enough data that the cars are trained, they are capable to drive independently, yet those cars do not exist on streets, or they are not sort of authorized to drive independently because of the legal framework, because of liability, insurance, and most importantly, because of ethics that requires algorithm to make decisions in situations that can be, at the end of the day, life-threatening. So it's all kind of, you can see, even with such a huge field, with tremendous investments and development like cars, self-driving cars, it's that the technology is there, but it's not yet applied in life because we have not solved a lot of legal complicated issues. And of course, the third, which already was mentioned in your introductory words, is the legal system itself. Like any other field, of course, it will see a digital transformation, it will see and experience automation, it will adjust to the new world. And so, of course, it's a whole separate field of expertise where I'm sure the innovation is already taking place, and we will see a lot more tools coming, solutions invented and applied that, of course, will simplify and improve the legal procedures. So in brief, let me say with this sort of introductory words that the field you are all looking at is really huge. I think there is very many opportunities, excellent opportunities to grow, to excel, to build solutions in Latvia, solutions globally, create your businesses, create your own expertise. So this is an amazing opportunity for everyone. And that's why it's really is, I'm really happy to see that this initiative is opening up in Riga. With this, once again, my congratulations to you opening the chapter of Legal Hackers here in Riga. And I wish you successful discussions today already on a very interesting topic, but also many more to come in months and years of your work. And I encourage everyone who listens to join in, to step in and find I think, exciting topic and opportunity to work together. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Ilves, for the introductory words. And I have a few questions, if I may ask. First of all, generally for the society at large, and also for lawyers, how do you encourage skeptics and people who are scared and thinking that technology will take over everything, to encourage to look into technology from this perspective of that being as an advantage? What are the words you use?
Well, you know, the life in general, it's sort of philosophical answer, but in life in general, we make decisions every day, right? We also drive the car. We have we understand that we can get in accident, and we take all precautions, right? We can have accidents on street. We have many different other ways, the field of health, right? We do invest in hygiene, you know, we know that we need to wash hands before we eat and all kind of other things. So I'm saying for people on technologies that one critical moment is to decide what is really important. What is that you worry about the most in your life? And then don't use technology or, you know, protect these things that you are worried the most. Limit the impact of technology. And for different people, different things, right? Somebody never cares that, you know, people can watch my whole life online, right? And some people are very, very worried if any picture goes out. So I think you have to depart from how you feel and what's the most important thing in your life. I mean, for some people it's finances, right? For some people it's privacy, for some people something else. But be sort of conscious about what's important for you and make use of technology where you see it's your biggest support and you are not afraid, and be more protective of what is really important to you. And I think to a very regular person, I would seek experts. I'm not any more expert in technology. Technology has become so complicated that if I need to understand if this app is really good or secure or trustworthy, I do have to consult myself. I mean, sometimes it's reading up, but sometimes it's asking an advice.
Excellent, thank you. And then one more question. just recently, European Union proposed a new regulation or draft regulation for how to deal with artificial intelligence. And saying that the EU can make the difference and be the champion of an approach to artificial intelligence. So my question to you is, how can Latvia or Latvian legal system become a champion for the usage of technology?
Well, in particular from legal, that would be a challenging. What I want to say is from EU perspective, it's really, I think it comes also from GDPR that was brought in by European Union and has really seen a big sort of amplification in the world because people realize that the data needed to be protected. And I think in the same vein, EU now feels that they could be a leading source to define those basics in AI and artificial intelligence. And I'm really happy to see that they have this, you know, they divide this in categories saying, okay, here is the AI that is critical and risky, right? It has a huge impact on people's life. And then there are even the field where they say it's not acceptable. Like these technologies can never have AI, like social scoring that is used in China is put bluntly black and white that this can't be done. It's not, you know, it's not respecting human rights. So what can be done in Latvia is to follow these, of course, guidance and studies. And I think we really need our own expertise in this field. But then a lot of that is, of course, you learn as you go. And, you know, the more you can test and pilot these the application of law, because we are, of course, on other hand, we are afraid that we will so over-regulate that technologies won't be able to work. And so we are small countries. We can set, you know, cross-border different test projects, because as I mentioned, quite often rules and regulations are those stumbling blocks that does not allow technologies to work across the border. So a lot of that is really, I mean, experiment in a known limited the field to see what works and what actually becomes the stumbling block. So I would encourage to build up the expertise, because field is still rather new. There's a lot of now programmers, and there's a lot of, you know, a huge growth in different technical parts of digital world. But the legal is, I think, is really growing now. And so I think there's really a good way to grab the field or focus and actually test and apply and then feed back the experience.
Many thanks, Mrs. Ieva Ilvesa, currently the advisor on digital policy of the President of Latvia. Thanks for your introduction. And based on your suggestion that we learn as we go, let me turn to the keynote speaker of today. And Antti Innanen will talk to us about legal design and whether that means a revolution. And Antti is a co-founder and CEO of DOT and the former managing partner of Dottir Attorneys, legal design pioneer, and frequent presenter on various legal design seminars. And back in 2018, a Twitter user quoted Antti as he has said, "Lawyers will learn to think like artists and bring human elements to the mix: personalization, variation, empathy." So good to have you in our event, Antti, and the floor or the screen in today's environment is yours. Please.
Thank you so much, and great to be presenting here at the Legal Hackers Riga seminar. Sound okay? Thumbs up if everything is good. Everybody can hear me. Excellent. Good. Yeah, I think it's the first one in Latvia, right? First legal design seminar in Latvia. So really happy to be here. My name is Antti Innanen. I'm the CEO of legal design and legal tech studio DOT. We are based in Helsinki, Finland, and we have offices in New York and in Alicante also. You know, that sounds way more fancy than it actually is. That means that I moved to Alicante like 1 week ago. So now we have an office in Alicante also, right? But in reality, we are very international, and maybe that reflects our clientele also. You know, the problems that we're dealing with are very universal, like, and that's what I want to talk about today. So I'm going to talk about legal design and how it might be beneficial for your work also, how you might solve these very universal problems. And legal design combines design and tech with legal expertise. So I hope also that that a lot of designers get interested in this one. A lot of like tech people get into this maybe in Riga. Okay, let me see if the share screen works. Yes, here we go. There we go. So here's the presentation. You should be seeing cat banging keys there. Everybody okay with this one? So legal design, a revolution in law. I'll start off with a short story. This is us, no more about that one. My introduction to legal design starts off with a story. So my legal design journey began in 2015. I just had founded my own law firm, Dottir, and I was helping with my kids' disco. I was helping to put on a disco at my kids' school. So, we were selling coffee and candy and wearing funny hats and stuff like that. And I bumped into other organizers. He happened to be a CEO of a very successful design company. And we started talking. We started talking about like law, and he said like, why does law always have to be so complicated? And I defended my position a little bit, and I said like, it is what it is, it's supposed to be like that. It's like that for a reason. We can't do anything about it. And as a designer, he found beauty in like simplicity and functionality. And he was looking for the customer's perspective. And I kind of like admired his perspective, and we started conversating a little bit more. And I left the disco thinking like, this was my eureka moment. Like I've discovered something new. And I almost ran home, and I did like quick Google search, and of course I didn't invent anything. But for a brief moment, I thought I invented legal design. I'm sure that this has happened to many people before and after me also. But like this was 2017, and it was immediately like clear to me that we wanted to jump to the party also. And I connected several people. I connected Margaret Hagen at Stanford University. And to my astonishment, some people had practiced this already in Finland. So Helena Hapio, Stefania Pasera were the first academics that I knew of who practiced this one. So, the party had already started without us, but we jumped in at the very early stage. So then we organized a seminar in 2017 to kind of like gauge the interest, like is anybody feeling the same way that we are? Do you have similar problems in your jurisdictions also? And it was very cool. The reception was excellent. A lot of people came also. Legal Design Summit kind of like started the community also in a way. And then party gets better and better. Kanye West also jumped in. So when we started with Dot, we thought like, how might we get the message across? And then Kanye West tweeted this one, basically stating that he doesn't understand anything about his contracts, and this needs to change. So if anybody knows Kanye West personally, tell him that I'm calling him. I'm waiting in Alicante for him here. But this just shows that the problem is very universal, that it's happening all over the world at the same time, and people have difficulties of understanding the legal end products that we are offering. And we need to do something about it. And I'll show you a couple of cases, what we've done, and hopefully you'll get inspired and also join the party. So legal design is the application of human-centered design to the world of law. And usually traditional definitions of design focus on something like very concrete, like clothes or buildings or chairs or something like that. But turns out that you can design also other things, such as legal documents, for example. And what's more important, you can use the process of design. So design thinking focuses on the process of creative problem solving. And there's a lot of studies that point to the direction that if you apply design methods to your work, to your strategy, the companies grow much faster, they are more profitable, and there's no reason why law should be outside of this. There's really no reason why legal documents cannot be properly designed. There is no reason why we can't apply design thinking to law. It has already been tested in several other business areas. So for me, it seemed like a no-brainer to focus also on this one. I want to tell you that that there is a new profession in the making that might be very interesting for you also. In a way, legal design is legal front-end development. And you know, the idea comes from software side of things, right? So if you think of in software development, you have the back-end developers that do the code, right? They're responsible for the code. And then you have the front-end developers who are responsible for the presentation, for the usability, for the graphic interface of things, right? So someone who can do both is usually called a full stack developer. I'm hoping that more and more lawyers would be considered as full stack lawyers also, that would understand the code of law and then the presentation value of law, the user interface side of things. But I truly believe that there is a new profession in the making, the legal front-end developer, and there will be thousands of people in this field very, very soon. So if you're looking for new kind of opportunities, and if this is something that would interest you, I recommend you to be the front runner also in this area, right? Everybody's looking for that next big thing, like what could give us competitive advantage. Maybe it would be this one. And this is just to illustrate my point. Like, this is how computer programs used to look like. I don't know if you remember this one. Maybe you're not as old as I am, but they used to look like this, like wordy, unusable, not really designed for the user in mind. And I argue that the law at the moment looks exactly the same. Like, if you go back a slide, you like regular person understands as much this as this. So this is a warranty clause, and this is wordy, unusable, also clearly drafted from an expert to an expert. This is code. This is like undesigned code. But the thing is, like, it's really difficult to touch the code. It's really difficult to write code that would make sense for common people. That's why you need user interfaces on top of the code. And if you think of like your iPhone, for example, you probably have no idea what's happening inside of the iPhone. Like, there's some pretty complex stuff happening behind those icons. And a lot of like ones and zeros going on, and complex calculations, but you don't have to know anything about it because it's designed for you to use. So imagine if law could look like this. Imagine if law could also be designed. I'm in a great hurry now, so I'm just going rapid fire with my slides here. This is how our typical process would go. And it's quite different from your regular legal process. So if you think of like regular top-down legal work, it's always like you call the lawyer and lawyer delivers something to you, right? And our process is very much different. It's more a service design oriented process where we would have kickoff workshops, design workshops, analysis, doing the prototyping, and then validating the prototyping and testing the prototyping again and again. So we would do prototypes, test them, then do another prototype, test it, so forth. So it's very like a iteration-based way of working. And if somebody asks us to do something, could you just I don't know, visualize the contract for us? We usually say no, we don't work that way. So we want to make sure before doing any kind of design that it's also backed by design research, that it's really based on actual users' needs. So we don't draw flowers on due diligence reports or change fonts in contracts. That's not what we're after. We do prototypes, then we test them with actual clients, then we do better prototypes. That's what we are doing. So the big three of legal design. This is like the three most important things for me in field of legal design. First one is collaboration. And I think this is the most important thing also. We need to open law for other professions. And if the legal services or legal end products are designed from a single point of view, it might be a legal point of view or a designer's point of view. I wouldn't call that legal design, because that's done from a single point of view. The whole idea of legal design is open up your end products for criticism and also for new ideas from different professions. Legal design for me means designers, business people, IT people, lawyers working together using these new kinds of methods. Then the second one is research. We always do research before our project. So we don't do anything based on our previous experiences. And if you think of lawyers, that's all what lawyers do. And that might be cost effective also at some cases. If you need, if you need a contract, I don't know, rental agreement, you don't need really a workshop around it, right? We don't propose a workshop. We just give you a rental agreement. But if it's something, more difficult, if you are striving for something bigger, then, it might be difficult to do something based on your previous experience, because let's face it, lawyers don't have all the answers nowadays. Like, legal problems are very complicated, very complex, and it's perhaps not enough for just lawyers to tackle the problem. And the third one is we always want to do prototyping. We always want to do different iterations of the products, because we don't believe that major improvements can be made by just like instantaneously. So we always want to do prototypes also. Let me show you a couple of cases really quick and a couple of tools just to illustrate these points. So we did a visualized GDPR policy for Estée Lauder companies. In terms of design, this is nothing like super special or anything like that. But what we did is we built a user interface on top of the existing document. So this was the original document. And as you see, from a legal point of view, this is very good. If you think as a lawyer, I think that it was a very good document, of course, lengthy. But if you think from client's perspective or from design perspective, it's not perhaps optimal, right? It isn't really well designed, that we can say. It isn't really user friendly. All the design decisions done here, there's a couple of things in bold and a couple of things in all caps, but there's not much design going on here. So we divided this into 5 different information streams and added visualizations on top of this one. And this is what we usually do. We divide the code into different kind of piles and perhaps add visuals on top of that one. And we try to build a user interface usually on top of the existing code. Here, we didn't touch the code at all. We didn't add anything. And let's face it, like if it's 10 pages long already, removing 1 page might introduce legal risks, but it's still 9 pages. And it's still not legible. It's still not something that would inspire people or help people to use it. So that's kind of our idea, to build user interfaces on top of the existing code. Does that make sense to you? Second case is the Finland Arbitration Institute, where we implemented a solution that informs and makes we did kind of like a map of arbitration for clients. And this is where we started from. We workshop with the users. We try to define the pain points in the arbitration. We did customer research, this one, and we converted the 2 booklets that were approximately like 50 pages long into 1 digital map. And again, in terms of design, it's nothing super special, but it works really well. And this is where I refer my clients when they need to know something about arbitration. And we built a digital tool, digital map that you can zoom in and zoom out for this client. And this is the last one that we have. Before, in my previous firm, our terms and conditions used to look like that. So in the left column, you'll see the old version of our terms and conditions. And we decided to take a different kind of approach, make different colorways, design it a little bit better to add this right-hand column to it. And it became much more enjoyable also to send this branded document to our clients. This was the first touch point with our clients. So it doesn't make sense to send your clients anything like the before version. That's not the good first touch point. It's not a good way to start the discussion with your client. And then just very briefly, I'll browse through a couple of tools that we use so you can just see what kind of things we're working with. We might do customer journey maps, for example, where we try to map out like key milestones in the customer journey. We might use like this kind of surveys where we try to define the bottlenecks or the pain points. These are all, if you have studied service design, you would be very familiar with these methods also. Then we might do personas also, allowing us to look at the problem from different viewpoints, putting ourselves into other people's shoes. And then what is really, really important for me, we assign KPIs for all of the projects. We call them legal design outcomes. Of course, that's something that is a little bit branded differently, but we always try to assign some kind of metrics to all of our projects, whether it's accessibility or reducing clicks or something like very tangible. We always try to be very realistic with the goals, like reduce clicks, for example, reduce phone calls. But sometimes we want to, have that kind of moonshot also, where we would have like an unrealistic goal and dream big also in these projects, because that's also quite a lot of fun. Couple of things that I want to say to you still, like my 3 things how to get involved in legal design. First of all, stay curious. I think that there's always something happening where you can learn from other professionals. Like watch what developers or software designers or architects or artists do, and just copy them and try to kind of pick their brain a little bit and see how that would fit in your own business. Beginner's mindset means, at least for me, means that you're constantly learning new things. So first of all, learn to use the tools that are already available. You don't need special tools for performing legal design. You don't necessarily need new toys or new tools. You just need to figure out how to use the existing tools that you already have. So play a little bit around with, Adobe programs or any horizontal scrolling programs. They're all pretty much the same. When you can use one, you can use them all. And the idea is not to make you a designer, but make you understand what designers do, for example, so you can effectively collaborate with them. And third one is hang out with diverse groups of people, like meet tech or design people, go to their events or meetings, or sit next to them, or invite them to your seminars, or eat lunch with them, or do an internship at the service design firm, for example. That is a great way to learn. Do an internship at a service design firm or a design firm, and you'll come up with a lot of new ideas for your own legal business also. So that's my kind of final thought. Try to get to close proximity with design people or tech people, pick their brain, find out what they're thinking, immerse yourself in a different kind of culture, and then bring those ideas into your own work. Good. So last slide. We're opening also legal design school quite soon. Hopefully you can attend also. I'll let you know when the doors are open. So we would also have more materials there. Anyways, thank you so much. I bow to you. Greetings again from Alicante, and happy to answer your questions if you have any.
Antti, many thanks. I will start with my question from my own. I understand that you started your career as a lawyer.
Yes.
You established your law firm. What is your profession today? Are you a lawyer or?
I'm an recovering lawyer, maybe, or something like that. But I'm still a lawyer. I'm not an attorney anymore. But I used to have my own attorney's office. We grew really fast to 30 people, and yeah, I'm an ex-attorney.
Okay, and compliments on your web page. I browsed and I really liked the guide to legal design canvas and what does it mean to be a legal designer.
Nice.
And this guide to the legal design canvas brought me to the next question, which is actually also the question from the Facebook. And I encourage our listeners to pass the questions either on Zoom or Facebook. And Anna Bogdanova is asking, wouldn't the legal design of text significantly increase the cost of legal services? So my question, a little bit more elaborating, what are the costs and return on investment of legal design and this new approach of what or the product you are selling or selling or proposing to the client?
I think it's a great question. I think you know, most of these projects, like obviously if you're just drafting something, it might be much more cost efficient to draft something with a team of like 1 or 2 lawyers than 1 lawyer, 1 service designer, and 1, let's say, information designer. You know, that new kind of way of working might introduce some costs also. So you have to be very careful, you know, when the situation is suitable for legal design projects. If it's something just that the client needs very quickly, and if it's like a standard form legal document, I wouldn't propose a legal design project. But if it's something else that they're doing, if they're trying to, I don't know, create a movement or convert their old papers into digital tools or craft a design system or something like that for their legal documents, then it's really, really difficult to buy that from attorney's office. Then you need different kind of professionals, different kind of ways of working also. So I think that the value comes from us kind of like only suggesting legal design when it's necessary to these subjects. And on the other hand, I think that the value might be also like, it's not only the document that has value. Like sometimes if we do a pilot project and we just do 1 document, you know, there might not be much value for the client. But maybe if we can start that kind of like miniature revolution inside a big company, that can be super valuable for the company. They can change their whole legal system around, whole thought process around also. And that can be very beneficial for companies also. So we try to be like strategic also when we propose these projects, and always try to start these miniature revolutions inside of companies that would then, you know, be very valuable for companies.
And I think, Antti, if I may comment, perhaps remember that this is user-driven experience. So it's actually not how much it only costs from the legal side, but also what kind of advantage and value it can bring to the client.
Exactly.
And perhaps sometimes when I'm teaching lawyers or speaking, I'm saying, can you now explain something like you would explain to your grandmother or similar person or to kids? Can you do it as simple? And I think here it's the same way as saying, let's put it on legal design. Let's create it something simpler so that it's not that complex. And this is where you actually see that long-term value can be totally different than just simple costs.
Exactly. Exactly. Yes. And the whole idea of opening law up to different professions also is very valuable also for many people. So I think that should be explored also a little bit more. Like, could we bring in like different kinds of people, different kind of professions also to the field of law?
Many thanks, Antti, for your insight, and please stay around so that we could have and pass questions a little bit later. If this is now 2:49 in Alicante, then it's almost 10 o'clock in the morning in Brazil. And let me welcome the next speaker, Tessa Manuello, founder, CEO of Legal Creatives, who will speak about creativity, innovation, and disruption in law. And I must say that Tessa jumped in and substituted our speaker literally on the last moment. So we really, really appreciate you being with us from all over the world. And Tessa, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much for having me today. I'm really excited to be a part of this event. This is the kickoff event. What a beautiful time to celebrate innovation, legal technology, and legal design all together. I'm Tessa Manuelo, founder and CEO of Legal Creatives, and today I want to help you start thinking creatively about the law and about what you do as a legal professional. And so let me share the slides here. I think you can all see the slides now. If not, please let me know. Today's talk is about creativity, innovation, and disruption in law. And the objective I have for this presentation is not necessarily to give you a regular presentation that you probably used to see in webinars, but more to help you start having an insightful experience of legal design, creative problem solving, because the legal hackers started with creative problem solving and then leveraged technology in order to create new type of laws and products and services. And the objective is to help you think a bit differently about what you do and what you can do in the future. So I hope you're going to be on board with me, because this is going to be an interactive experience for you. So let's start right away with some audience participation. What do you see here on the screen? What do you see here? Let me know in the chat right now. What do you see? And the presenters, or like everyone who's in the Zoom or in the Facebook, please, please, please let me know what you see here. I'm going to open the chat. This is an artistic representation from, so I'm going to tell you, because I see you're a bit slow on the chat, so I want you to warm up, because there's going to be more questions for you in this presentation. So this is an artistic representation. Julija says it's a very lengthy policy. You need to read before pressing I agree. Absolutely. Julijana, this is Antti is adding, and well done for the talk, Antti. The longest was Instagram. Absolutely. So those are the artistic representation by Dima Yahovinsky, who created this art piece to show the absurdity of those online terms and conditions that users online are supposed to read and understand all of this text before using Instagram, LinkedIn, and all of the Facebook and all of the other tools that we probably use every day. I'm not sure if you have read them, but I certainly didn't have time to read the Instagram one before opening my account. In fact, it would take me more time to read the Instagram terms than to read the American Constitution. So who has time to do that? And who, even if they do, who is really going to be able to understand that? It really showed that the law is not designed for users. Law is really designed by lawyers for other lawyers, or for judges, that in most instances are former lawyers. And because of that, users start to be disinterested from the law. And law is everywhere. Law is everywhere in your everyday life. When you walk on the street, when you work, law is everywhere. But users are not so interested anymore, because he has time. Just think about it, especially since the pandemic. Who has time? Like, we all are pressured to do more with less. And when those terms are so long, or the legal documents and policies are so complex, what do? Well, those of you who are lawyers, that's what you do. So you know exactly what to do. But how about the people? What do they do? Are they really going to take the time to try to figure out what it is supposed to mean and what they're supposed to do or not to do? Law has became increasingly complex and difficult to understand. And also, there's just so many laws, so much information in general in our life and at work. we have this information overload, and what we need is to know exactly what we're supposed to do or what we're supposed not to do at the perfect time. And so that means there's a huge opportunity here for all of you. And before I share a little bit more about those opportunities, let me prompt you with another question. Do you think a contract without words is a thing? Let me know in the chat, what do you think? Have you ever seen a contract with no words at all? Do you think it would be possible? I see Rudolph says, I would love to sign a video contract. This is great, Rudolph, because you're starting to think differently. You're starting to think of different mediums as well, moving from paper to video. And I will show you an example, because we have helped legal professionals achieve that. I see Elvira is saying on Facebook, it's a bit delayed. Yes, this is what I'm trying to add a bit of info before the answers, but the time is running. We don't have time. We need to move on as well with this presentation. So let me show you here the contract that was designed by Robert Deroe, a legal professional based in South Africa. That is I believe the world's first contract that was created using comics, cartoons, and storytelling. And as you can see, there's almost no words on this contract. So why would Robert Deroe create such a thing, a contract with no words using comics and cartoons? Well, to really help the user understand what is expected from him or from her in the company. This is a company based in South Africa called Clement Gold. They are producing juices and they are hiring fruit pickers. And they realized that fruit pickers, unfortunately, didn't go to school. Most of them didn't have access to education. So they didn't know how to read and they didn't know how to write. And so the traditional contract was not helping the contract users, in this case fruit pickers, understand what's expected from them. And Robert Deroe did this incredible job of trying to think differently about his work and the contract, and came up with this document that is the one and only document that is being signed between the fruit pickers and the company. So this is not replacing, this is not an explanation of the contract. This is the contract. And this is what legal design is all about. It's about thinking in a creative way to really meet the need of the user in a better way. So legal design really comes from design thinking and creative problem solving. So design thinking, according to the D School in the USA, is this 5-step methodology. It's really about understanding who are your user, to empathize with them, then define the problem, ideate possible solutions, prototype as quickly and cheaply as possible so you can test your ideas before you develop them fully. And this is an iterative process. You can go back to the previous step as much as you want. So you're constantly in this posture that you are dynamic, you are testing, you are talking to users, you are actually developing your products, your contract, your tool with the users. At Legal Creatives, we have developed a matrix to help create this new experience of the law. So UX, user experience, and adding the law to that. And this matrix is really about helping legal professionals and law firms and even legal departments really try to harness design thinking and creativity to create this experience that will be more predictable in terms of cost, that will be more clear in terms of processes, that will bring more value in terms of the outcomes that are expected from the clients. And all of that using the creative methodology that is really the search for novelty, ideally also being original and different from others, or at least different from what you have tried in the past, and staying relevant, making sure you're solving the problem for the user. So the way we understand legal design and the way we use it, apply it, and teach it is really a combination of creative problem solving and design thinking to improve this Lego user experience. So since we're talking about design, what do you think is the greatest secret of designers? Do designers have a secret? What would it be? Let me know in the chat, whether you're on Zoom or in the Facebook, what do you think could be the secret of great designer? I see Elvira is talking about thinking outside the box. Gert is telling simplicity. Arena, empathy. Thank you so much for contributing in the chat. Rudolph talks about courage. All of that is true, but there is one secret that I believe is very, very powerful, is that as a designer, you don't want just to ask people what they want. You want to really try to understand what they need. In fact, if you think of the iPhone that we've already mentioned in this event today, the iPhone, if Steve Jobs had asked what people wanted, nobody would have said we want an iPhone, because the iPhone did not exist. And if we go back to the invention of the car with Henry Ford, he never asked what people wanted. They would all have said, we want faster horses. Henry Ford invented the car. Steve Jobs invented the iPhone. What are you going to invent? This is your opportunity. And this is already happening right now. If you're in love with a problem and not in love with a solution, you can be very successful using this methodology. It's really about solving people's problems and making sure that the experience for them is going to be much better, much quicker, much more enjoyable. So if you're in love with access to justice as a problem, you can use this methodology of legal design to create platforms, such as this platform that was created by Alejandro Tamporetti Oliveira in Argentina, who was one of our first students in the Legal Creatives Academy back in 2018. And he used the methodology to create this platform that helps Argentinians file a lawsuit in a much easier way online. And then they have some lawyers who are helping process the claims and bring them to courts. But maybe you are in love with making sure that as a legal professional, you will be more accessible. And so this is another example created by another Academy member, Antonella Puntriano from Peru, who just recently created her own legal venture, infusing legal design methodology and thinking to make sure that the business model she has created for the law firm is completely new and different and more relevant for her as a lawyer, for her colleagues, her partners, her associates, but also for the clients. But maybe you are in love, like I think Rudolph was saying, video for contracts. Maybe you are in love with the problem that it's really difficult to understand the legal information. So how about changing the medium, moving from paper to video? This was created by Mauro Martins in Brazil, a video for the privacy policy. I mean, who likes to watch video instead of reading text? When you think about it, even us, it's just easier, faster, more enjoyable. Or maybe you're in love with, this problem that law in general is, we have to admit, it's quite slow. Maybe you want to make it more interactive. Maybe you want to make law more instantaneous. And so this tool was created by Arnaud Cervera. It's a QR code non-disclosure agreement that allows to sign an NDA quickly on the go when you want to make a first quick business conversation at an event with someone that you feel could be a good partner. At least you have some kind of legal protection to get started. Or maybe you want to make the visuals better, more colorful, but colorful on purpose. It's not just because it's beautiful, it's because it's more useful. It helps readers find the information quicker and understand it much faster. And that is all of the possibilities you have if you want to start surprising yourself about the new possibilities are open to you. If you're ready to challenge yourself, because although this looks really fun, it is fun, but it is a lot of work too. you need to acquire new skills, you need to test, that means you need to prototype. And we have heard at the beginning of this kickoff event the importance of prototyping. And this is a challenge to ask for feedback. And sometimes the feedback is not great and it hurts, but it's really useful because then you are making sure you are developing the right type of solution for your users. And enjoy yourself. After all, this is a creative process. This is fun. It's a lot of fun. And so it's also about allowing ourselves to really enjoy this process. And so since I talked about this contract without words, I want to invite you to this free event we're organizing on Saturday, if you're interested to know more, because this is a movement. This is happening right now. And it may not be so difficult for you to actually create a contract using cartoons and storytelling. And you will see on June the 5th, on Saturday, we have this free event, and it's a global event for everyone to just get to see what's possible when we think creatively about the law. So I'll share the info in the chat for you to be able to connect. And if you would like some more free stuff and free inspiration, we have a podcast, the Legal Creatives Podcast, where I share a lot of the real life insights from my experience as mostly a trainer in legal design now. And this is a creative revolution I invite you to take because it's happening and it's really exciting. So what are your biggest takeaway from this talk? Please let me know, whether it's in the chat or whether you want to unmute yourself. I'd love to know your insights. And I want to thank you for all of you, great initiatives. And if you ever want to learn and apply legal design so you can build your portfolio, build your own experience, you're always welcome at Legal Creatives. That's what we do. We help you become a professional legal designer. So I want to thank all of the organizers and really excited to continue this conversation with the other guest speakers and the audience.
Tessa, many thanks for this inspirational presentation. And from my side, 2 questions. I will try to be very short. Where lawyers or students should learn about legal design? Are universities offering such courses? Is it podcast? Is it online? Where would you suggest, what is the latest development for legal design learning?
So thank you for the question, Git. So to my knowledge, there's not so many universities teaching legal design. So we have created an online platform at Legal Creatives to really help students, but mostly legal professionals who are joining, to actually learn the skills, learn the theory as well, and implement so they can build experience and build a portfolio. Now, and this is at legalcreatives.com. And now at the university, I was in charge in 2018 to create a course in the University of Sherbrooke, Canada, called Creativity in Dispute Prevention, Dispute Resolution. I believe this is the first course in the law faculty that has creativity as the course name. And it's exciting because, students are surprised and interested. So this means there's a possibility for you in your country to also take such initiatives. The way I did it is I researched for actually 5 years in an academic way. And before that, I experimented for 5 years. And so, well, it was a long process of 10 years. So maybe you have to be really passionate about this. But now the great news is you can build on this knowledge, right? So you don't have to spend 10 years anymore. And you can build on this knowledge to create courses in your own universities, because I think it's starting to pick up. In the US, we're starting to see a bit more courses in universities on those topics. And you're always welcome at Legal Creatives if you would like to learn and to apply legal design, because the key is to implement. This is where the magic happens.
Excellent. Tessa Manuelo, many thanks coming from all over the world or from Brazil. And thank you for sharing your ideas and new creative thinking for legal profession. But let's move on. We still have 2 presentations. And the next one is Christine Metuzale. She is a client relationship manager at Tilde. She works with international companies to advance their operations in today's multilingual world. And just as a reminder, Tilde provides language technologies for a connected world, or in my eyes, help actually to connect the world. So Christine will talk about artificial intelligence powered language technologies to facilitate perception of legal texts. Christine, the floor is yours. Please.
Thank you very much, and good afternoon, everybody, and good morning, Tessa in Brazil. Thank you very much for invitation, and thank you very much, Dirk, for your kind introduction. Let me share my screen first, because I prepared a short presentation I would like to use today. So indeed, we live in a very fast changing world, and we see innovation happening in every area of our work, of our lives. And of course, it also affects and changes the way we do our jobs. It changes the way we do many things in our jobs. So today I would like to speak about technology, and in particular about language technologies and how these can help you to facilitate perception of legal texts. So why digital transformation happens? It happens to enable us to engage with our customers, to engage us more strongly, more successfully. And for example, language technologies can enable legal services providers to engage in new ways to provide information, to simplify the information, to make it easier for customers to understand, and of course, be able to also win new customers and new business opportunities. At the same time, it also empowers employees by giving them new tools to be more productive at work, to do their work much better. For example, language technologies help to speed up information exchange. They help legal services providers to be able to work with multilingual documents much faster and to work on cases and projects at a faster pace. And all in all, it optimizes processes and transforms services, helping companies to stay agile, to stay competitive, and stay good at what they do. So if we look at times we all live through, we can say that even in these COVID times, investments in artificial intelligence haven't stopped. And that's for a reason, because companies are investing in artificial intelligence since it cuts costs significantly and increases revenue. And it helps companies to stay profitable, to also grow customer base, loyal, happy customer base, and a bigger customer base than maybe before. It also increases speed to market, since it enables to provide information in new different ways, to speed up information exchange and to reach out to many new potential target customers. We also benefit from improved collaboration and communication, and language technologies enable us to also do this, since we work across different departments and teams, also being based in different parts of the world, where we also see challenges which are being created by different languages. And all in all, this transformation helps us to increase efficiency, optimize processes, which all leads to better services and successful business. And if we look at language technologies, so language technologies as such, on one hand, they can enable us to facilitate perception of legal texts in our own language and can help us to connect to customers. On the other hand, we live and work in a very international world, and we increasingly work on international projects. We work with clients and partners in different parts of the world where different languages are being used. And here we again have those language barriers. Alone in Europe, there are 24 official languages and 80 languages are being spoken widely. And we are not even looking at around 7,000 languages spoken globally. So it all adds to challenges we all face, lawyers and not lawyers, in everyday work. And for that reason, many would say English is an answer, but actually it's not, because 62% of Europeans don't speak English well enough to hold a conversation, and 59% of Europeans use native language when they communicate on web, which all for us means that to reach out to the customer, to provide strong service, to connect strongly and win new customers, we need to speak the language of the customer. It's not enough to speak our own language, it's not enough to speak English. So we need to speak the language of the customer to win business, to have loyal customers. And for that reason, Tilde has developed 3 competences. So it is automated speech recognition, intelligent chatbots, or as some others called it, smart virtual assistants, and custom machine translation solutions. And I will briefly touch upon each of them. So speech recognition and how it can help in legal sector. So all of you are having regular phone calls, Zoom, Teams calls these days with your clients, and normally you would be taking notes when speaking to your client. Instead, you can use technology and transcribe those conversations and focus on the conversation, on the case, and speaking to the client. And when you finish the conversation, you have ready-made automated transcription, which is accurate, and you can use it for your documentation. Equally, you can use such technology for other meetings, internal, external meetings, with colleagues in other offices, and have those transcriptions available when you have meetings completed. And it all improves your documentation process. So your documents will be very accurate since they are based on the conversation as it was, or on the meeting as it was. And you can use also many functions to enable you easy work at any point of time when you need to look up those documents. You can use, for example, search functions by different keywords, by speakers, by subjects, issues discussed, and so on. And for lawyers who work a lot with massive documents, and many of them, it helps to speed up the process. Equally, intelligent chatbots are becoming more and more important. They not only provide information 24/7, but they also provide information, and in legal sector in a way, also in a simplified, user-friendly, using easy to understand language, which is not always the case if you want to look at legal regulations. So it helps you to connect to customer, to provide them with information. At the same time, it also reduces costs because there is no human interaction, there is no human or customer service specialist behind this service. Legal companies can use such technology to provide information on their services, on different processes, documentation needed. They can even connect directly customer with expert in the team. And all in all, it helps to grow business by reaching more people, because not everybody these days will be willing to pick up the phone and call your company. Many people find it also time-consuming to go through websites and look for information. For many, first choice is to use chatbot to find information. And for you, it enables to connect and reach out to many more people. And the third technology is machine translation. It can be used on its own, but it can also be combined with both voice technology and chatbot technology as well. It can translate all those automated transcripts I mentioned before, or it also can facilitate information in many different languages or any language you choose for your business when you introduce chatbots. So it's not only about your native or English language, chatbots can serve your customers in different languages. But machine translation as such can enable you to cross language barriers and to have effective cross-lingual communication. It comes down when there are several languages or more than one language involved. Machine translation provides instant translation, translation of texts, documents in different formats, and also web content. And increasingly these days, we're talking also about information which is published on internet, and we also need to understand it for our decision making when we read about our clients, about competitors, markets, and so on. And often it's not always available in the language we understand. So it's excellent we have these days tools which also translate this content for us. And I would also like to draw your attention to the security issue, since we're talking about legal sector, which is particularly important in this case. When you use or choose machine translation provider, make sure you choose the right one in terms of security. Not every machine translation provider will make sure this technology is secure for you to translate confidential content. So we make sure that governments, lawyers can use technology to translate any confidential material. Since no data is being analyzed, accumulated, collected, but it's not the case in every machine translation solution out there. So pay attention to this. And if you integrate machine translation in smart way in different workflows you use for your business, you can also reach global audiences. So for example, one of the ways is to introduce machine translation into your website, integrate it into your website to provide multilingual content. In that way, again, target global audiences, target new markets, new customers. And I have a short video of just under 2 minutes to demonstrate machine translation platform, how it translates texts, different documents, and web content. So let me start it. So here you see a registered user logging in and choosing which language to translate from and which language to translate into. And now a document is being translated. A document which is not a plain text, it contains pictures, different fonts and colors. And you will see that translation also preserves the formatting of the text so that it's easy to work with the translated document, so that the original format of the document is the same, the translated document is the same as the original document. Also, any written or copy-pasted text can be translated. As can any website be translated to. In this case, just as an example, Delphi LV, which is available in Latvian, and we would like to translate it in English. You can translate any other website. This is just an example, but imagine an expat living in Latvia and not speaking Latvian, but willing to understand Latvian news. So this is an excellent way how to do it. You can, of course, use it also for business and translate any other content. And this is how a website can be translated using machine translation into different languages. this is an example of Tilde's own website, translated in a dozen of different languages. So this is an automated translation in Estonian, for example. An excellent way to promote your company, to target different markets and grow your business internationally as well. And on this note, I will finish my presentation. Thank you very much, and I'm of course very happy to answer questions.
Christine, many thanks. And I have to realize that machine translation and speech recognition is on the table, or one of the issues that also the companies I work with is interested. So, but let me turn to the Facebook, and Elvira has asked a question for you. How much an artificial intelligence chatbot can help a client? Are there limitations? Do you think it can replace a lawyer?
It can certainly be of great help to lawyers and add value in everyday work, particularly in those cases where expertise on a single case is not needed, but a lot of routine questions need to be answered, for example. So this technology is becoming more and more of value, and I can, for example, share an experience of one of our clients also using chatbot in legal sector. It's Latvian company register. They use chatbot to provide legal information to anyone willing to set up a company in Latvia. So they use this technology to inform about what the legal procedure is about setting up company. But the documentation is you need to submit, which forms you need to fill in, how you can come in and register your company, and all these questions which normally need to be answered on a daily basis many times, now can be answered using technology. And they save a lot of costs, and they provide a lot of information upfront to the client, and the client is very well informed, can prepare everything, come in and have the company registered in the next 15 minutes or so.
Thank you. I could imagine that there are industries like legal where there are some obstacles that when you want to implement something new, you need to deal with, like confidentiality and usage of cloud services. And apart from lawyers, there are many other confidential driven businesses. How do you see, is that one of the biggest obstacles, or in implementing new technological approaches, design approach and innovations, or there are some other obstacles that you would say that companies are facing, but they are at the same time also solving these issues?
Well, security is something everybody needs, and every serious company and serious lawyer is paying attention to, but I wouldn't call it an obstacle, because there are solutions out there which are secure and provide a secure environment for confidential translations. I think that for companies, the issue is, first, they need to understand what these technologies can do for them, how they can benefit, and what values they can generate from using these technologies. And the second is, of course, it requires changing the way they work. It requires also changing maybe systems or workflows. So it takes time, and it's a complex decision-making process as well within the company.
But still, it is doable. At least some of the things are solvable.
Absolutely.
Many thanks to Christine Metuzal from Tilde on showing what are the innovative solutions that are coming to help clients and lawyers. And finally, now let's turn to Rudolf Strelis. He's a user experience and service designer at If Insurance. who will bring designer's perspective to our discussion. And Rudolf believes that lawyers could greatly benefit from building strategic partnerships with design teams to reshape their legal services in a new quality. So Rudolf, please, floor is yours.
Thank you, Geert. Hello, everyone. I'm very happy to join this conversation, and I'm really happy to see how such an interesting topic as legal design evolves. And I wasn't aware until last week or last 2 weeks of this topic, and I'm really happy to start thinking these categories as well. Yeah, I worked in, before I come from design world, and I worked in private and public sector, and had previously good exposure on legal processes on both sides. As a designer and strategist, I also have a good amount of friends with a degree in law, but that's just the closest that I can get to that world. So today I'm gonna give some perspective from the creative side, so to speak. And I'm super comfortable with making visual slides. That's my strength. So I didn't make one for today, and I hope I can deliver a good story and train myself and bring outside of the comfort zone. So yeah. I hope I can share some thoughts and ideas. I know that Antti's presentation was super amazing, and Tessa's presentation that really focused on the creative side and design side. I didn't want to be redundant as well and show the same graphs and methods and principles. So I hope I have some fresh angle as well. And we can have some practical discussion having on today. Maybe we can even end up with some to-do list for the closest future. And I can see, hearing the last presentations, that we already have some pattern over the last presentations. So I will emphasize these challenges and opportunities on the legal design and what it can provide us. So I think it's more or less amazing that human-centered design practices currently found in various sectors and industries are now coming into legal system as well. That's one thing that I'm really happy of. And in such a rapidly developing world, it is very crucial to make the process of interpreting and enforcing the law very intuitive and user-centered. And I'll also would like to add another hypothesis that design methods could even make the whole legal ecosystem more sustainable in a way. So where does the challenge hides, and is that so easy that we just hire a designer and everything happens? I think from my perspective, the challenge hides in the fact that there's a gap between content and experience. So I think the legal practices are historically built focusing very heavily on the legal content than the whole service and the end user experience in general. But that's just my subjective experience as a service designer. But in my subjective view, the legal world currently is based on a very precise language and process architecture, right? So we have this specific way of thinking of delivering information in certain forms that certain users can understand. So the challenge is that it does not work well for a broader audience, which is affected by laws and policies, right? So there is no situation that everyone will understand one language in the world. And as a comparison, I would mention a quick idea that if, let's imagine if an engineer would make and sell a product, right? How it would look like. It would work perfectly fine. It would never break, right? It would possibly be very easily to repair. but would it be aesthetically pleasing for the user? Would it be intuitive? Would the product fulfill users' ergonomic needs? The technological brilliance is not always what users desire and benefit from the first hand. And the same thing I think could happen in law firms and legal teams. The same thing that Antti referred to the backend concept, right? And to my view, there are various directions in which design competencies could help to emerge new forms and qualities of legal practices. And then questions arise, such as how can information flow between lawyer and client be more intuitive? How do we know our service fits all user needs? How can we optimize use of resources and even environmental footprint of our legal teams? How can we lessen the administrative burden? How can we measure our client satisfaction? These are the questions that could be answered using design tools and collaborative methods involving such specialists, specific specialists from the design world as graphic designers, user experience and service designers, also mentioned before, researchers, to just name few. And as Antti referred to this full stack developer, I would stress another argument that I think the benefit would be even to collaborate with individual specialists and see how diverse team in a legal sector we can build and what's the value that we can get out of it. And I believe there is no magic wand in the designer's hands, but the power of co-creation and collaboration always brings small wins to the table. And that's, from my perspective, that's always a safe way to go. And how to do that, there is a trick or a proposal that I want to share as well today. If we perceive the process of solving legal challenges for any type of user, if we perceive that as a service, as a product, right? In that case, any type of service requires a designer in team to for it to contain these human-centered qualities. And designer competencies also allows us to find and filter right challenges to solve. We can greatly benefit, so we are not mixing desires with true needs, right? As Tessa mentioned and highlighted, that was also my thought. Designers can help to facilitate co-creation workshops, gather qualitative data from users, build a design brief, prototype and test new initiatives and application of law, thereby minimizing future risks and expenses. So it's a very, very complex ecosystem where design team can foster legal practices and make them more rich in terms of added value. And using design tools, we can create something meaningful, functional, and pleasing at the same time with this great added value and with this improved user experience, right? So my concluding remarks and the discussion that I would love to continue is what if that really works, right? What if it's worth to invest? What if it's worth to go into this unknown, untapped area, even if we can't calculate the return on investment very precisely? My question, both from experience from work in the ministry and government sector and private sector, is that we would really come up with better policies from public sector. We could finally make something that makes citizens feel good about the mysterious government, right? We would have improved user experience during and after handling personal legal issues. And we would also, I think, have more effective internal processes within legal teams, eased organizational changes, ending up with more competitive and even sustainable law firms, right? I think even sustainability as a topic in legal scene would be a good thing to highlight and draw in. So I think it's really definitely worth the try. I have experience in other sectors, but I believe legal could greatly benefit from collaborating and having design teams, whether those are internal ones or hired as agencies. The format can be tested as well, but there will be value. So thank you for these last presentations. This was my story, my concluding remarks, and my ideas on what is the value and challenge in legal design. Feel free to connect with me and continue the discussion, those who are interested in LinkedIn as well. And I think Latvia is a great place to test these legal design ideas and methods. So yeah, I wish energy and passion for the legal hackers team. So I think it's going to be a pretty wild first year. And thank you for this opportunity, and let's have a creative discussion now.
Rudolf, many thanks for your ideas, and because you have been around in various industries, I would like to ask you the question, if I would be a lawyer working in a law firm, probably I would be sort of willing to share more business or companies because they are ready to pay larger fees rather than customers. But when you look on legal design and the idea that you need to explain these complex matters to users, somehow it, to me intuitively, feels that it is actually customers, private persons, who need to have this explanation. From your own experience, do you see a difference how we should approach this explanation part, whether we work with business, private persons, or governmental institutions? Is there really at the end of the day the difference?
I think there is a difference in a way that every audience will require maybe different mediums how we communicate, a bit diverse architecture of the information. However, the mindset and the methods and the principles, how can we get the results and what are the methods coming from the design world, those are applicable for both private sector, business, government. So that is the great benefit. If a law firm invests in these design competencies, that would be suitable not just for the private users, but for various cross-industry cases, cross-sectoral cases. That's my experience. Maybe Antti or Tessa can share their experience as well from the professional field, but I feel that we can greatly benefit no matter the industry.
So at the end of the day, it somehow for me, it feels that when you face either good service or really bad service, then you start to feel what Antti also showed, these pain points, that you somehow lack information, you lack understanding, and even if you are well-trained lawyer, designer, business person, you feel yourself somehow lost. And this is where probably you start to be this empathic person who could understand how the other people feel. Okay, now we have now finished with the presentations and speeches, and now it's time for the discussion and questions to be asked and answered on the final note. And let's spend next 10, 12 minutes on this one. And I would now turn to Facebook. And if I may ask this question to Antti, Risto asks, it all makes sense, but newer approaches such as video or beautiful visual icons will probably never replace old school terms and conditions. We are likely to see more of both the old school version side by side by new visualized approaches. So Antti, do you agree with this one, or you say that we actually need to be more bold and have this revolution and be ready to move faster?
I would say, never say never, because if you think of like the technological advancements, and if you think of text as a means of communication, and if you think of all the different ways of how you can communicate information, I think it's quite evident that we are moving from just purely textual information to other forms of like disseminating information. So I would be very optimistic in that that we can replace text also as a form of communication very soon also. And if you think of like let's say like the time frame, I think that we're going to see the first versions. Maybe maybe it's like first ones are a little bit funny. You have like I don't know, terms and conditions with like a in a virtual reality format or something like that, and maybe those are like a little bit funny and they won't function really well, but suddenly the whole market will change and it will feel very old-fashioned if you just have the long textual documents. So I think like in short term probably nothing will happen. In longer period of time there's going to be a lot of advancements, and we're going to look at these documents that we're looking at the moment, and we're going to go, we were crazy back then, like we were so much behind. It's so weird that we had those lengthy terms and conditions on websites.
But at least we have something to show on in artistic form on
yeah, exactly. They're going
wall.
to be museums perhaps or something like that, but it's going to feel ancient.
No, I think that from my experience, I think that, for example, due diligence documents are examples where the world has moved in last 20 years. That if you go and buy a company, probably 20 years ago, lawyers would provide and prepare an encyclopedia, 200 plus pages of what is this company and what are bad and not so bad things about it. And then it moved to probably to something like 50 pages, but with like 10 pages summary. And then at the end of the day, today, you probably will have 5 pages of really summary.
Sure.
Plus it will go with this crossing lights or whatever system.